bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. Oh, I know it's late news because it happened last night, but I wanted to talk about the Isaac Yiadom trade. The 7th rounder for Isaac Yiadom out of Boston College. You know, I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on with the defensive backfield. I am a little concerned that they keep making these types of ancillary moves almost as if they do not trust anyone else on the roster to become the CB2 against on the other side of James Bradbury. And I think that, and everyone's going to go, oh, you're being so negative about Isaac Yiadom. No, I'm going to be honest about Isaac. Isaac is from Boston College. A very good friend of mine is a huge BC alum. And we've chatted once in a while, and I called him last night because I only know Isaac from last year in Denver. I wasn't familiar with his rookie season. So I wanted to reach out to someone that had maybe a little bit more knowledge than I did about Isaac's college career and the way he played in Denver, because this gentleman followed Isaac like he follows most BC alums that are drafted within the first couple rounds, because Isaac was a 3rd-round pick. But the thing with Isaac is, after having some of these conversations and doing my own statistical data, he reminds me a little bit of Eli Apple, and not in a good way. Now, one of the things at Boston College was there were some concerns about Isaac and his play. His downfield speed was always in question. He was kind of choppy with his back pedal, and he always looked hurried and upright when he was, guarding man-to-man. Now, this guy is supposed to be a man-to-man guy, so which is why I find this curious. He was slow kind of at recognizing on plays, on top of the route plays. He was also, and the one thing that I love that my friend told me right off the bat is he would get physical throughout the route, instead of just trusting his position and his recovery speed. He would get handsy. And one of the big issues for Eli Apple coming out of Ohio State was he was too handsy. He was too hands on the receivers. So I mean, it's, and it seems like that has transitioned a little bit into his career in the NFL. He's very physical, and he can really disrupt receivers. But again, if you're physical in the wrong way, like our friend Eli Apple was, you're going to get flagged. You're going to get penalties. Now, if we go back and look at Isaac Yiadom's stats, they said that his rookie season in 18 was his best because he was playing under Van Joseph, and he played more of a man-to-man scenario. And I'm thinking to myself, it's his rookie season, so I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. But, offense is still completed 20 out of 34, almost 60% completion rate for 258 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, that's playing, like I said, in a man-to-man situation. And he only played in 13 games and only started 1 during that season. And if you take a look, he only played in 24% of the the defensive snaps. So, okay, it's his rookie season. So, you know what? We're going to let that pass a little. And then we're going to slide into his 2019 season, where he actually played in 16 games, started 8. But this was more towards a man. This went more from the Denver's defense more went into a zone type style defense, a cover 2 or a Tampa 2 zone defense. And they completed 38 of 54 passes for 70% against him for 490 yards. And then everyone goes, wow, he didn't have any touchdowns. Yeah. But you only start 8 games and you have 490 yards and they completed 70% of the passes thrown at you, and you only played in 48% of the defensive snaps? I don't know, man. It's interesting. First of all, he's only costing us a 7th-round draft choice. I'm fine with that. You know what? If you're going to throw out a 7 to get a former 3rd, I'm okay with that. The other issue I have, though, is from doing some research in and around Denver, he was probably going to get released anyways. That he was already beaten out on the roster. that he probably was not even going to make the 53-man roster. That doesn't mean he would have cleared waivers. So I mean, I think and he's only got a 4-year, $3.6 million contract, or whatever it is. So it's not like he's going to cost us a lot, but it's a high risk but a high reward deal if he pans out. And I have to look at the roster and think to myself, is he any better than the corners that we have on the roster now outside of people like Logan Ryan and James Bradbury? And I can't say that he is. And I'm not saying it's a waste of a trade. No, I'm not saying that at all. He could turn around and be Corey Webster, or he could turn around and be Elvis Patterson. Toast. I mean, it's I'll wait till the youngins go back and look up those two names, so they know what I'm talking about. But like I said, it's an interesting move by Gettleman. It leads me to believe they are not sold on any of the defensive backs outside of, probably Logan Ryan, James Bradbury, and Peppers. Maybe in Julian Love. I'm very excited to see what Julian Love is going to do starting. I really am. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with that. Doing a full year at the safety position. I would have preferred to see him slide over in the corner, but out of necessity, I understand what's going on. I think he's going to play more safety in the beginning than Logan Ryan, because I think Logan Ryan's going to move all over the field. It's funny, Logan Ryan to me is going to be like the Isaiah Simmons, except not playing linebacker. He's going to be a safety. He's going to be a corner. You never know. He may be on the run support. He's a good run supporter. So, but I just find it interesting. I don't know. I see some of these things and everyone's excited about it. I'm like, I just don't. I don't know. I mean, it's a former third rounder who's turned into a bust that we traded for a seventh rounder who we could probably picked up on waivers. But I understand that, and I've said it before with Gettleman, when he sees something that he wants and he wants to make a move, he makes the move. I think Ernie Accorsi learned that going back to his days in Baltimore when he, went with the whole John Elway situation. So I understand it. I'm not going to say I don't like it, but I think everything that we need to take is with a grain of salt, because I see too many people, same with the 4,700 undrafted free agent wide receivers we have. Everyone's going to be Victor Cruz. So, I mean, let's just wait. Let's give this guy a chance and an opportunity before we either bash him or praise him to high heaven. One last thing that I did want to talk about that I found interesting was the potential that both Xavier McKinney and David Mayo can stay on the 53-man roster. Even though right now, and why I find this interesting is right now, the rules of the IR have changed. You are no longer allowed to have an IR designation for 8 weeks, which is typically 8 weeks. Now the teams will only have 3 weeks to activate a player, or he's going to be out for the season. So potentially we could carry 51 men on the roster, because right now David Mayo and Xavier McKinney are still on the roster. And I know it's a torn meniscus with Mayo, and I've had the torn meniscus. I have a torn meniscus and torn mid-meniscus. It could take 3 to 6 weeks to heal. Or it could actually could take 8 to 12. It really just depends on your body. But like the shortest period of time would be like 3 to 6. So are we going to carry Mayo for that on the 53-man roster, or are we going to just basically dump him for the season? And the same with Xavier McKinney. Are we going to carry him on the 53-man because of the fact that he's going to be out at least until the end of November? I mean, minimum till the end of November. And that's being conservative. So do we carry him and we take away that roster spot? My thing is, if Joe Judge and Dave Gettleman are going to do that, more than likely what's going to happen is they are not going to carry, a third quarterback. They will go with 2 QBs. Because the fact that you're going to be basically knocking down your roster to 51 men. And like I said, or do you want to just wipe out the entire season for David Mayo, who was going to be helpfully penciled in as a starting linebacker? I know everyone talking about Devontae Downs and how wonderful he's going to be and how he's going to be the next Carl Banks. Again, the guy barely played last year. He's had a good training camp. We haven't seen him in real game action. Let's just all relax on him a little bit. Just relax a little bit. we know what David Mayo can do. We've seen David Mayo play. David Mayo can support the run extremely well. David Mayo cannot cover. But you know what? That is not David Mayo's forte. But I would trust David Mayo right now more than I trust Devontae Downs. Just saying. But that's an interesting quandary. Do you carry? Because then if you also do that, you really can't carry an extra corner. You can't carry an extra receiver. So you're going to have to find more people. And one of the things I do love about Joe Judge and his staff is they always preach versatility. And I think versatility is going to be what carries this team because, like I said, you're going to have a lot of guys. And I've said this before. The Giants' defense is going to be a defensive substitution. It's going to be a defense where people are running in and out. That's what Patrick did in Miami. That's what he's going to do here in New York because it's going to be a situational defense based on substitutions. And that's all they're going to be. And they have to be that because they're going to have to play to their strengths because of the fact that we don't really have multiple star players on the defense. So they're going to have to play different positions. But I do find it interesting. Would they carry Mayo and McKinney on the 53-man? Because they have to, unless they think Mayo is coming back in 3 weeks. And then would they carry just McKinney? Because then you knock yourself down to a 52-man roster. Just my thoughts, just something that popped to my head yesterday. So, again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And as always, if you could subscribe, if you could ring that bell, I think you know what that means. That'd be awesome.